Greg, Joe, hey, congratulations on this crime drama, Downeast.
Sorry. Thank you.
So it's a very fascinating story, especially for an indie film. It's such a high quality production, especially towards the storytelling and characters, which I absolutely love.
Thank you.
So let's start with the easy question. Greg, tell us, where did you come up with the idea for this story?
Basically, 2005, I'm in LA. I'm auditioning for things I wasn't so excited about. And I just kind of said, what kind of genre do I love? I love a crime, thriller genre. And hey, you know what? It'd be really cool to shoot it in my hometown and just like this crazy dream world, So I came up with these characters and kind of just the story just came to me. And then luckily I ended up hooking up with Joe 14 years later, and he made it worthwhile.
Wow, 14 years is quite a long, quite a long journey for this story.
Exactly. That's the very short end of the story.
Hey, so Joe, then go ahead and tell us in your roundabout way on how you came on board and why you wanted to direct Downeast.
Sure. I was working with APS Films and Edwin Stevens, who's a producer cinematographer on Downeast. And we met Greg, and Ed was originally from Portland. He had taken me to Portland for a documentary we were working on, Alice is Still Dead. And then we did another feature there. So I fell in love with the city. I've never been until Ed took me. And then when we started talking to Greg about his project, it was, we learned very quickly that we all had the same creative DNA and we like to tell similar stories. And it clicked instantly. And I was honored that, Greg trusted me enough to take on the project. And, Ed was amazing at helping develop the script as well, along with another producer, Corey Pike. And we got it to a place that we really were happy with and excited to shoot. And then the rest is history.
Greg, tell us about this hometown of yours that was portrayed in this film. Obviously, it's not a high crime town, but it's a small fishing town.
Yeah, it's a small fish. There is crime there. My brother is an officer there, and there is crime, but not to this extent. Of course, it's completely fictionalized. But it's just an amazing city. The people. It's got a. I always knew that a director and a cinematographer would have a field day with this town. We had seen things in Boston and cities like that, but never anything like this in Maine. And a lot of the feedback we've gotten from the film, as it is a crime genre film, it's very grounded. And I think that is a testament to the people and just Portland in general. It's a very, very down home, grounded city. It loves their own. And I think it comes across in the movie. And there's a lot of things you can say about Portland. It's just an amazing place. Very charming.
I'm curious for production being in a small town, what did the neighbors and residents think about your film?
We got spoiled. Everyone was very excited. We were welcomed with open arms. I think that, as part of, it was Ed and I being from there helped a little bit, but that's just the people, if we went in there and treated the people good and they treated us right back, we really got lucky in a lot of different ways. And it was cool to see, Joe and Ed's team, coming from Hollywood, how much they embraced Maine and how much, I got such a kick out of it being a local show, telling them this and this and this, and they fell in love with it. And it was great.
Well, Joe, it sounds like the ball is in your court. What did you think of that small town?
We would not have been able to make this film without the support of the community. It was absolutely crucial and tremendous. And, like Greg said, the cast and crew really embraced it as well. In our downtime, we were getting lobster rolls, we were getting oysters. We were completely immersed in Portland in every sense of the word. And it was a lot of fun. We had a really, really good time. And I hope the people that are from there embrace the film as well. now that they see the final product.
Joe, how did you want to approach a crime drama such as Downeast for yourself? I'm not sure if you actually directed crime dramas before.
I mean, I've always been drawn to the genre, you know, growing up watching things like Goodfellas, The Godfather, but also the biggest influence on me is The Sopranos. And what I took from The Sopranos is, you know, it's not always this menacing bad guy that has complete control over the town, and when the good guy beats the bad guy, everything's okay. I was interested in, and we were interested in telling a story with moral ambiguity, the gray area that exists between right and wrong. Everybody's doing things for what they think is the right reasons, and embracing the fact that, you know, we're not making a film with this bad gangster that's just doing things for money and power. It's more than that. You know, we have things that we can't really decipher what's right and wrong in the film, and I think it's interesting to explore, and I think it's important to explore.
Excellent. Greg, tell us for sure, what do you know about lobster fishing? I mean, I know nothing about lobster fishing. I've only known one fisherman in my entire life, and he was an Alaskan fisherman, and you don't look like a fisherman to me. He looked
I don't
like
know how to
he
take
ate
that.
lunch.
Well, I hope I hope Steve trained the our lobster guy that helped us out, you know, in the film, made me look halfway like a lobsterman. But you know, they worked their asses off in the freezing cold at 4 a.m. I knew nothing, and I know nothing about lobstering. I just know it's very, you know, a lot of hard work, a lot of hours, a lot of early mornings in the cold. Again, adding to that grittiness and that tough, you know, exterior that we have in Maine. But yeah, they're like salt of the earth guys, and they like to have beers after they work, and I hope we semi-portrayed that in the film.
That is terrific. Because the one thing I do know is that a lot of those fishermen are family affairs, and that's the one main thing that you portrayed in the film. Which
Absolutely, yes, generation for sure.
Yeah,
and it's very hard to get, especially these days. It's hard to get a license, and your traps. It's kind of grandfathered down, and you're very right.
Excellent. Joe, tell us about the challenges of because I know production on boats on the ocean is always challenging. Could you tell us about that? Even though they're just only brief scenes of lobster fishing.
Yeah. While the scenes are brief, there are a few, and there are, you know, it's story in there. It's not just, you know, B-roll of Tommy, you know, fishing for lobster. There's important scenes that take place on that boat, and we had one day to shoot all the lobster boat stuff, and shooting on the water is a different animal. Myself, Ed Stevens, and our amazing assistant director, Anthony Hanna, we had this plan of attack. We knew what we wanted to do. We know the order we wanted to shoot things in. But 20 minutes in, we realized, you know what, this is probably not going to work. The blocking has to be different than what we envisioned in our head. The mechanism of the traps and everything are a little bit different than what we envisioned in our head. So we had to change everything on the fly. And for a moment, I felt a little panicked. We were kind of treading water for a little bit, and then we're like, all right, we put one foot in front of the other. We got something in the can, then we got another scene in the can, and then next thing I know, we were off and running. And you know, while that day was very intense and scary at times, I look back on it. It's one of my favorite days of shooting I've ever had in my life. It was so awesome and incredible.
Just a quick side note that just Kirk, who plays Marty so well, and we were out there, and it was like obviously January in Maine, and it was freezing, but it was like the sunniest day, and we were trying to, like, you know, portray this cold, like gritty, foggy lobster scene, and it was like so bright. And I just remember Kirk saying people are going to think we shot this in Hawaii, because it was just like the sunniest day out that day. Oh, good times. It was a great day.
Well, you know, I know film productions, they always pray for at least good weather. You know, It's much better than having some storm come through and on your productions. That's for sure. Now, the film, the biggest thing that I enjoyed about this film is that it's not just a crime drama, but it's also a love story. Greg, could you talk about adding those elements into this story?
Yeah, you know, originally when Joe and I sat down and we talked about the script and the direction, you know, we were really either going to go ultra like crime or we were going to go like ultra love. We had kind of talked about that, and Joe being Joe miraculously really tied the two together so perfectly. I feel like it's a great marriage of both, honestly. So I really do feel like everybody can take something from the film, and that's all because of Joe. And I loved it. I love the stuff with Dylan and I, who plays Emma. I love that kind of star-crossed love story like we always see, because it's the greatest love story, you know, where Romeo and Juliet, The Notebook. I mean, all these great love stories. It's the people that can't be together, you know, and that you're rooting for them to, at the end, you know, get together and live happily ever after. And yeah, I think that was important to show that side of Tommy and that side of this, you know, seedy world that we were living in.
Joe, was it hard to balance between, you know, like the crime drama and the romance into a film like this?
I think it can be, but I think for this film, we did a really good job. The entire cast and crew did a really good job of knowing where we were in the story. And I think because the romance between Tommy and Emma is so intertwined with Tommy's dark past and his secrets and the crime element in the town, everything was always present in every scene, and it felt a little easier. And one of the things that we always strive for is, you know, when I sit down and try and construct a scene or direct a scene, I'm not thinking like, okay, well, this is a love scene, so we got to make sure that we make it a love scene. I think we just need to tell the truth in every scene. And if Tommy and Emma are telling the truth in that scene, the love will come to the forefront. But if Tommy and, you know, Kerrigan are in a scene together telling the truth, then you're going to get that tension. And I think it really just comes down to whatever scene you're acting in or directing, that you're just telling the truth. And the genre will reveal itself. So,
I keep on thinking of Tommy's character because for you, Greg, I feel like your co-stars had the more violent scenes in their film than, I mean, you obviously had your own scene, but it seems like your co-stars, not spoiling anything, but your co-stars actually had a much more intense.
Yeah, Tommy got off easy.
How do you handle, you know, the physicality of those scenes for yourself? Obviously, you know, you're in great shape. Some of us probably don't even know how to throw a punch, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, luckily this film, like you just said, I didn't have to do a whole heck of a lot. And you just go for it, like anything, any scene. You know, you can't half-ass it. You got to grip it and rip it. Whether you're doing an emotional scene and, you know, whether you're being silly, you know, those are the hardest scenes, when you just have to be silly and you just have to go for it. You can't be concerned about what you're going to look like or this and that. And same thing with the physicality. You throw that punch like you're throwing a punch, and you go for it, you know?
Now, this being an indie project, I'm actually curious, is that were a lot of the actors, were they cast, or were they people that you actually knew to bring on to like an indie project to Maine?
we had a team of amazing casting directors, Jamie Rudofsky and Christy Faison out of LA, and a few people we brought in that we knew. I worked with Judson Mills before, who plays Kerrigan, and I had briefly worked with Dylan before, who plays Emma. But most of the cast we did not know beforehand. Obviously, me and Greg were working on the script together, so I had Greg in my mind when I was writing. But somebody like Dylan, even though we had worked briefly together, she wasn't really on my radar. So when Christy and Jamie sent us the tape, I said, "Oh, that's interesting." And then we watched the tape for 30 seconds, but oh my God, that's what we were looking for. Didn't realize it, and Dylan just absolutely knocked it out of the park. Whereas somebody like Judson, I worked with before, I was a huge admirer of him. And he came in and I'm rooting for him secretly. I'm like, I hope he's right. I hope he's right. And 30 seconds into his audition, we're like, wow, this guy's it, And then somebody like Kirk Fox, Gareth Williams, Dennis Cockrum, all those guys have such a long history of working on television shows and movies. And we got so lucky. Again, Jamie and Christy, they really brought in amazing talent that that knocked it out of the park. And we were kind of looking at each other like, how did we get so lucky? Why does this feel so easy? And we're very fortunate.
Really.
I think you had a wonderful cast here. Greg, how does it feel to have, I want to say, your first writing credit for a feature film?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's I'm overwhelmed, you know, to have it be, you know, a movie set in my hometown is, yeah, it's overwhelming. I'm very, very happy. Couldn't be happier.
Sounds like you enjoyed the experience. Are you going to go back to the keyboard and perhaps crank out another screenplay?
I would love to shoot again in Maine, but more so, I would love to work with this team again. From Ed and Joe all the way down. I mean, our crew and our cast was so amazing. And Joe said it in our last interview. He wants to shoot Downeast again. I mean, we've all been in a few projects now, and I have never had a terrible experience, but this was by far the most special experience I've ever had working on something. I mean that. It was great.
This is terrific. Well, I have only one more question before I let you folks go, because one of the things that people will not understand is the title Down East, and that's because for the rest of us, we're not from Maine. We're not along the coast. Could one of you actually explain what is Down East? You know, I'm here in California. I had to Google that.
Well, technically, Down East is not even where we shot. Down East is technically a little bit north, but it's just an area down east in Maine. You know, you start north and you head down, and you know the Downeaster, the train. It's just an expression, Maine, of an area.
Titling the film was probably the one of the harder parts of putting this all together, just because we had such a balance between the crime and the love story. One title made it feel too much of just a crime thriller, and then one title made it feel too much of just a love story. So we settled with a location, and we went with it.
I still think it works. So both of you, Joe, Greg, hey, thank you very much for this conversation, and thank you for making this movie Down East.
Thanks for having us.